The Canadian mystery made Meghan and Marcus fool Harry. Wrong and illegal PR strategy. I have always wondered if Doria and Marcus live with them partially because Harry can be violent sometimes. So Mike Tyson's mother-in-law did that for exactly that reason. But Meghan is an evil witch who abuses other people, so actually I don't have sympathy for any of them. At the end of the day, it's important to remember that Harry is a psychopath all by himself. He doesn't need any help from anybody. He was the one who actually made up the race allegations that he revealed in the Oprah interview. It actually supposedly was not a scheme or a plan of Meghan's. Meghan is no evil genius. She never was, and she never will be. She is evil, nobody's arguing that, but Meghan is not a genius. She's never been. For over 5 years, it's been obvious who in the PR teams designed and wrote the strategies, and how everything that Meghan touched was done wrong and illegal. All the business ideas that failed, the absurd business filings, for example, even the deals they signed. For example, do you know of any Netflix documentaries or books they're doing right now? Well, no. Netflix is never going to give them all the money they promised. Netflix played the two of them. They signed a development deal, you see. It was not a talent deal. And that's why they decided to stop doing it. In 18 months, they only made $9.8 million, and that included Spotify and production fees. Meghan tried to show that she was a lot smarter than Harry. She claimed to present fees. She just took that $3 million from Disney, and it was supposed to go to the elephants, but it never did, unless, of course, it's happened in the last week or so, which it hasn't. But anyway, now back to the racism claims. So Harry is a psychopath. Now, I have spoken about that in detail. But anyway, I'm going to assign you all a little challenge. Try and find some images out there of Harry comforting anyone. In case you don't believe it, just do a little search and you will see there are only these PR puff pieces that are written by somebody else. And even those are just odd. Life will always be all right, you know that? On his trip to New Zealand, Harry met a little boy who had lost his mother. Now, he comforted the 6-year-old, saying, "Life will always be all right, you know that?" And he also gave credit to his own grandmother, saying, "Nans are so important in our lives." Sounds like a nice story on the surface. It was a 6-year-old boy, and you can notice the total lack of compassion. The only sensitivity was written by PR people. With Meghan and Harry, did you ever notice the images and video never really match the narrative? So again, I think it's important to understand that Harry is a psychopath in his own right, and he doesn't really deserve support from anybody. That is why Harry is so motivated to not be viewed as dumb. The ghostwriter even complained. The ghostwriter actually dropped him in it by saying that he is unaware. See, a dim-witted psychopath is not really all that dangerous, which is why I refer to them as psychopaths and sociopaths. But anyway, back to Meghan. She's a little different. Meghan is what we would call a malignant narcissist. Meghan claimed to be so intelligent with all these awards and these remarkable claims, like that she was valedictorian. It simply wasn't true. It's important to remember that point. I still have not come across anybody else, except for maybe Chase Hughes, making this point of it all being Harry's idea and Meghan being unintelligent, although we've got to admit she is smarter than Harry is. And this is very important because in the hatred of Meghan, people are simply not understanding the full story. And that's why everybody right now is jumping on the divorce bandwagon. But still, I think we need to remember the timeline. Harry is a psychopath, and so he's competing with his brother. Meghan, of course, preferred William, something that Harry didn't know about until after the wedding was already set. That old annoying Canadian video that is trundled out when Meghan claims to not know anything about the monarchy is also important in this whole story. And so what about the racism that Harry made up? Was it a revenge plot? Or is this just a dum-dum trying to make other people happy? Like Kaylee, who was pushing that narrative for Meghan, who was her client. I'm not sure. You can debate this issue in the comments. But this just goes to show how absolutely evil Oprah and Meghan really are. I mean, they, over the course of 2 days, manipulated this dum-dum's lies to fit their narrative in full knowledge that Harry didn't understand what he was really doing. So who exactly is worse, the liar psychopath Harry or Meghan, the liar malignant narcissist? Oprah was just using Meghan and Harry, that much is clear. Tyler Perry owns a studio, and he has Oprah as a big client, and he never knew Meghan and Harry. In fact, he didn't even meet them. But Oprah made $50 million off the two of them, so she set it all up. So in this episode, why have I not talked more about Meghan being dumb and being a malignant narcissist? Well, Meghan was so stupid that she didn't realize that Oprah and Tyler Perry were just using them. Because see, as Meghan Markle moves up the society ladder, she just abandons anyone beneath her. And most importantly, she cuts out anybody who could possibly disagree with her current new narrative. If you follow this line of thinking, it becomes pretty easy to predict the behavior and also to give some timings as to when the divorce is going to occur. It's also helpful to get a little bit of history and explanations when it comes to who the advisors are in her life right now. Now, Marcus would be number one in Meghan's world because he is the one who brought her into this whole world. And it's pretty interesting that now Marcus is back on the scene. He had kind of disappeared for a little while. And Marcus, he's not dumb. He's a very smart guy. He has a very interesting sense of humor. He was actually the one who informed everybody about roast chicken and crocodile, which are NSFW references. You can look it up in Urban Dictionary if you want, but I do not advise you to do so. And it was Meghan trolling in interviews. So Marcus, at one point, and probably still, has been living with them in LA, and Marcus is also bisexual. And if you don't know why this is relevant, well, the first time Meghan claimed that Harry proposed over roast chicken. And since then, they have claimed that it happened in a myriad of different ways. This was the first, though. I mean, this is Marcus's joke, obviously. He was the one who introduced the two of them. And then Doria is another important figure here. She's Meghan's mother, and she has been guilty of committing financial crimes in the past. And so now Doria and Marcus are essentially the only long-term advisors. So both Marcus and Doria get to live it up in that McMansion with 14 bathrooms at a pool house. It is so large that it's pretty easy to get privacy. It's pretty interesting to me, too, that Harry requires different hotel rooms to stay in. Well, it's not strange if you understand what's going on. So Sunshine Sachs and Kaylee are gone. Meghan's got a different PR company now that specializes in a whole different type of PR for a different audience. Now, if you look at Meghan's hairline and her jawline, you might notice that it has changed over the years. And apparently that was all done in Canada. Marcus was there, and a certain surgeon lives there too. But the big question is why? If you look at the photos, you can see some interesting differences. But the question here is why? Who are they trying to appeal to? Priyanka had surgery that made her skin look a lot whiter. I think you can decide whether or not her book version really stacks up. It got really popular in the West, actually, after Priyanka had that surgery. So why all the surgeries? Well, I think her plans are important to remember here. It all makes a lot of sense if you look at it from the lens of a malignant narcissist after all. As Chase Hughes put it, she is the person in the world he would least like to spend time with, and he is somebody who interviews serial killers. And that's why I believe that Harry is a psychopath, and I believe people should pay more attention to that. Let's remember that he was not the one who broke up with anybody. The women left him. I mean, even getting to be a member of the royal family was not enough to want to stay with Harry. Now, Meghan is the sort of person who is really only interested in 3 types of jobs, and she's too dumb for one of them, so one is off the table completely.